Great. Well, thank you, Ashley. Thanks for getting us all set up. Thank you to the sponsors for tonight and for every night that we have the IJSPT Journal Club. We're glad to be here. We have an exciting topic. We have three exciting speakers. Unfortunately, two of them are not on yet. We're hoping that they jump on before too long so we can get asking them questions about their articles. So let's get to who we do have here. Phil, tell everybody who you are.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to 23, we said, right?
23, number
Every
23.
time my wife goes, is it another journal club? Didn't you just do that last week? So I'm just,
My wife said the same thing. Didn't you just do that a week ago? I said, it's been a whole month.
Close.
Said, oh my gosh, it seems like it was just literally last week.
2 years. Next month is 2 years. So
Yeah.
glad to be here. Glad to see everybody. Looking forward to a great conversation. So thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to Ashley for stirring the drink back in the control room.
That's right. Yep. That's right.
That's the most important thing. So good night.
Thanks, Phil. Barb, can you introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Barb Hoogenboom. I hail from Grand Rapids, Michigan, where I teach at Grand Valley State University. But the reason I'm here tonight is because I'm the editor-in-chief of IJSPT and have had the pleasure of reading and editing through all these papers, well, several of the papers, especially the one tonight that Holly was the lead author for. And we're just really excited to talk about research and to talk about these papers and hopefully expand your knowledge.
Nice. Thank you, Barb. So our other guests that are supposed to be here, I'll just tell you quickly, it's Holly Silvers and Bert Mandelbaum, who is the surgeon physician that she works closely with. And we're going to discuss two papers of theirs. But luckily for us, thank God we invited her. One of my favorite physical therapists from Wichita, Kansas, is here with us, Kim Yearout. Kim, tell everybody who you are, why you're on the topic with us tonight. And
okay, very good. Well, thank you, Rob, and thanks for the invitation to share on the Journal Club and this particular topic. As Rob said, I practiced in Wichita for 40 some years. Practiced with Rob for 25 plus. Had a pure delightful time practicing with him. And also, Rob happens to know this is one of my favorite topics. When I started out in 1982, I worked alongside an orthopedic surgeon who he specialized in ACL reconstruction. And so naturally, the ACL topic is very dear to my heart, and in particular, how to prevent that darn thing. So I'm looking forward to the discussion tonight. The articles were wonderful to read. And so in any way that maybe I can contribute with the history that I've had, I would be happy to do that.
Well, we're definitely going to count on you, at least for the moment here. So what Kim hasn't told you all, I don't know, Phil and Barb, my guess is you've probably heard of the physician she used to work with. His name was Charles Henning. And back in probably, 80s, Kim, 80s, early 90s, he was really kind of one of the huge surgeons in our field and was really well known across the world, really, for the techniques he used to use. And Kim worked side by side with him for how many years did you work with Dr. Henning, Kim?
Yeah, I worked with him for a decade.
For a whole
until
decade.
His unfortunate accident where he was killed in a glider accident. So
it's
10
untimely.
years.
Yeah. You've heard of him, Barb? Have you heard of him?
Oh yeah, I've heard of the story of his untimely passing as well, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah. Great surgeon, great guy, very meticulous from what I've heard about everything. I actually saw him as a patient. I just had, when I was in high school, I had some knee pain. Had some patellofemoral pain. And Kim was actually my therapist who I saw. I lived in a small town, like 2 hours from Wichita, hour and a half from Wichita. And we came to the big city to see this big sports medicine doctor. And Kim was my actual therapist I saw for the one visit of physical therapy that I had that fixed my knees forever. So that's how good she is.
Right.
Yeah.
I hope I didn't hurt you, Rob.
That's right. That's right. So Kim, tell us the reason.
Beard, though, could you, Kim? You couldn't fix the beard.
Yeah. And this
tried to.
I looked a little different back then, I think. I was probably a little thinner. It was a little thinner too. Maybe a little more hair on top. So Kim, tell us about, because the one of the main reasons I wanted you on here because of your history with ACL rehab and working with Dr. Henning. But one of the main reasons was because I think that really you and your partners probably developed. I mean, these two articles we're talking about are neuromuscular, or essentially
Mhm.
rehab training programs to try to prevent ACL injury. And I think you guys had probably the very first that I know of prevention program that was ever put together, and it was very rudimentary. I think compared to rudimentary, it'd be a good way to describe it, wouldn't it? Compared to these, um, the studies and how they're doing it now. But you guys were the first to do something like this, right?
Well, to my knowledge, we were, and really you have to credit Dr. Henning for it. I think he had been, I don't know the exact year when he started practicing, uh, but he probably in the early 70s. So when I came into the practice, there was already an injury prevention program up and running. It was really his baby all the way. But, he meticulously studied all the injuries. I mean, that's how we essentially came up with it. So anybody who had an ACL injury, in particular non-contact. I mean, obviously there are
Mhm.
some contact, but he was very interested, as well as I was, because I had had a non-contact ACL injury in college playing basketball. So um, he began to study and really identify what caused that non-contact ACL injury. And so as your studies and Holly's studies and everybody's work on this, we know that it's a deceleration move with the knee near straight. And so from that information, and we also divided it up per sport, because as I've read in the studies, it's very difficult to sell this sometimes to coaches
Mhm.
and that type of thing. Now, it's not so hard to sell it to parents. Once their
Right.
son or daughter has been injured, those were the people who usually contacted us, and they wanted us to come out to their high school and do the injury prevention. But anyway, we divided it up per sport as well. So we had statistics on football, basketball, soccer. Soccer wasn't quite as popular way back then,
As it is now, yeah.
but
Mhm.
those particular sports, of course, gymnastics, other things. So that's where we tried to fine tune it. But like Rob said, it was very rudimentary. We just focused on what were the situations that put the knee at risk,
Mhm.
with a one step stop with a knee straight, a straight knee landing, and of course, the infamous plant and cut. And
Mhm.
so
And so
we took those things, and honestly, I'm out of town. I've been out of town, but all my papers are back at my home. But at some point, maybe I can give you some of the details, because I know we got as specific as, like, in football, we knew that 72% of those ACLs were non-contact.
Mhm.
Basketball, it was a little bit um, higher than that. And so I definitely can give you those type of statistics, just not tonight.
Mhm.
But that's how we developed the program. Is we saw that, the basketball player coming down from the rebound, he or she may get bumped, lands straight legged, and boom, there goes the ACL. So is that the type of thing,
Yeah,
Rob,
yeah,
you
yeah.
want me
And
to?
so how did you implement the program, or tell us a little bit more about the program? Like what kind of things did you actually have them do? Did you went out to their high school and you had, I mean, would you have 10 or 20 people? Did you have three people at a high school? Did they come to you? How did you set it all up, and how did it work, and how was it organized?
Okay. One of the things, sorry, let me turn this off. One of the things, it was mandatory. We followed our patients a lot longer maybe than what they do now, but we followed them, for a year, then at 3 years, 5 years, 7 and
Mhm.
10.
And
So
would
we
they come
followed those
back? Would they
patients.
come back for a visit? Would, like, a free visit? They would come back and you would
Yes.
gather data? Yeah. So it wasn't like they would
Yeah.
come pay to see the doctor. You
Mhm.
had them come
Yeah.
back and it was totally free. Yeah. Great.
Yeah. Totally free to just collect data on how they were doing. But it was mandatory for each one of our patients at 1 year post-op that they attend this injury prevention class on a Saturday mornings. And so we'd have anywhere from 5 to 15 of our patients that were ready to come to the class, but it was mandatory. Uh, and they were very good with compliance, especially with parents very involved. And a lot of our schools, you guys, were really small little schools, 1A schools, Western Kansas,
Mhm.
and the star player got hurt, mom and dad, so that really helps, that you have that type of push from the parents supporting this program. So our patients had to attend it, and we set it up. Dr. Henning took care of one of the universities there, and so we would go to their gymnasium, during indoor, and sometimes then to the football field for outdoor. And we set up certain drills. And the drills, they weren't like warm up drills and this and that, even though we all would warm up, but they were specific drills where we would take a census of what players did we have there? Did we have basketball players? Did we have football players, soccer? What do we have? Baseball, softball? But
So you
we
would do
would
it
set
all
up
year. You would
drills.
do it all year round, right? It wouldn't be just like you wouldn't only have football players like right after football season, basketball
Right,
players after. You would do
right.
whoever year round. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
whoever's there, we did it once a month, and so whichever patient was there. But if we had a collection of basketball players, then obviously we'd get the basketball out and we would try to simulate what those were. So we would just set up specific drills, really aimed at combating the the injury type of maneuver to what we called the three-step stop, the bent knee landing, and the inside cut. So
Mhm.
we would practice, with different drills of doing those particular things. I mean, they had to rebound the basketball, land bent knee, over and over. Out of bounds play, one step stop, and uh, not doing that, but instead breaking down and do a knee bent three-step stop.
Mhm.
Volleyball players, if we had a net set up, then same thing, the knee bent landing was the key with those. So we would just do those particular drills, trying to adapt it to what was the situation that got them in trouble in the first place. And as you all have identified very well, that it is that deceleration with the knee too straight. So then once a lot of times the parents would be in the bleachers or whatever, then they would invite us out, and sometimes the coaches, not always, but sometimes the coaches, certainly of the smaller schools that were 1A, 2A, 3A schools, that they would be in the bleachers, and then they would invite us out to their high school.
Mhm.
And so then we would go out to the high schools. We also went out to Wichita State as well, and Newman, a couple of the little colleges there in Wichita as well, to introduce the injury prevention techniques.
Mhm.
So, but for our patients, they had to attend, and sometimes we'd get lucky, and the patient would actually want to come back, several times
Yeah, that's what I wondered if
to
people,
really,
if very frequently, if
yes.
people came back more than once, just to try to
Mhm.
get the gist of it again. Yeah.
Some did. Some did. In our particular study, I want to say about 4% became a bilateral. And so, if we had introduced that concept to them, that hey, you just finished up with 1 year. If you don't want to do the other knee, then you have to break these habits
Mhm.
that led to the first injury
Mhm.
anyway. So not a whole lot, Rob. I don't really have a percentage on that, but we would have them, and probably the parents even more so than the athlete,
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
want them to come back and practice.
And then did you guys do, I don't think you did, but maybe did you guys follow up then with them to see like they do now? Are you following them up to see like how many people were re-injured over the course of X number of years versus how many weren't re-injured? I guess so the majority of the people you did the training on were people that already tore their ACL. It wasn't
Yes.
individuals prior to tearing that had never been injured that were doing the training. It was all people following their initial ACL reconstruction.
Mhm.
Yes, the only people that would have participated that weren't an ACL injury were when we went out to the high schools or the colleges, because one of our patients' parents invited us out or whatever. Those people obviously hadn't suffered a tear. But yes, all the patients that we did the injury prevention on was they were patients.
Yeah.
So, and we just didn't want them to become bilateral or re-injure the same side. But what we saw is a lot of times they injured the other side if they had not been able to adopt the new biomechanical changes that led to the injury.
Potentially, yeah. So I guess that we can try to go into some of these, go into the articles and discuss them a little bit. We just don't have the actual authors, I guess, to get the actual answer to it from them. But one of the first things, if we start, have you heard anything, Ash? You're just like us, I'm
No,
guessing.
I'm wondering if there's a time zone confusion issue. I'm trying to.
Oh, I didn't even think of
Trying to
that.
figure.
You think they thought maybe it was 6:30
Yeah,
West Coast? Uh-oh.
I'm trying to see if I can
We're gonna be
figure it out.
done. We're gonna be done before
We'll be
6:30.
done before they get here.
Keep
Yeah.
rolling.
Keep
Okay.
rolling. We can do this.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so let's talk about the first article, and the first one up I have is Dr. Mandelbaum's. He's the lead author on it. It's effectiveness of a neuromuscular and proprioceptive training program in preventing anterior cruciate ligament injuries in female athletes, and it was a 2-year follow-up. This is, I think, one of their original studies. It's clear from 2005, so it's almost 20 years ago that they did this article. And so what I guess what I was wanting us to talk about with them, one of the big things that I hear people talk about and I really wonder about is that we call these neuromuscular and training programs ACL prevention injury programs. And so what my big question was, are we preventing ACL injury, or are we I think the term that's probably used more often are these like risk reduction programs, not really prevention programs? Because I don't know there's any, there's really not any program that can totally prevent ACL injuries, right? I mean, no matter what we do, there's going to be probably some people that tear their ACL. So is it really a risk reduction program versus a prevention program, or does it even really matter? Is it just a matter of semantics?
No, it's semantics. You can never prove prevention. So
Mhm.
it's always risk reduction, because you can't look to the future and say that you prevented these things from happening. Tim Hewitt's a big proponent of that, but I've learned that years ago is that you cannot say that you prevented an injury that you didn't know was going to
Right.
happen. Always risk reduction. What I liked about this study is the stats, of course, where they actually at the right chi-square would look at the difference of proportions or the features stacked based on the number of exposures that they had. So I really like this study. Of course, like you said, though, it's 20 years old.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it's bad science by any means. I don't think that there's probably any change in over 20 years in these outcomes. But I think that this was a really good first step, which will lead us to the next study, which is a really good. I love how studies that Holly does are
Build on each other.
in that effect of how we start with one thing, which leads to another, which leads to another. Before I sign off, I want to give a good shout out to my former students who are on the presentation tonight, to Austin and Logan, and of course my old friends Bo Lowry and Lane Murette, who are on tonight. So
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
Hey, I
How
was
did you
going to
know
say
they're
about
on,
this
Phil? Did you
paper.
see their name somewhere? Or did you
yeah,
just
well,
they're on?
it's every time. Make sure my students are on, but none of my current students show up because they all think they have to study or something. It's all my alumni.
Hey, Rob, I was going to say on this paper, this is the thing that sold me on the PEP program. If we're going to name the program, it's called the PEP program, right?
Yeah,
This
that's
is
what
the
it is,
thing
right?
that
This
sold
one.
me on the PEP program. And many moons ago, one of my co-authors, co-creators is on this call as well. We created our own program in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and we called it the 3 Ls: low, light, and in line. It was how people were supposed to function and move, right? We just rolled it out with small programs as well. But like everybody has a background in this, right? Everybody has a background in trying to say, what can we do to be better? And whether you call it prevention or risk mitigation or risk reduction, everybody's been trying to do this. If we had figured this out, we would have figured this out 20 years ago and we wouldn't have a problem today. We have not figured it out, right? So I think that that's one of the things to think about. And I really would like to echo Phil's thoughts. This is a great paper. And Holly, bless her soul, she has done so much good research, and Bert too, Mandelbaum. But they have gone from a cohort study. This is a level 2. This is a level 2 evidence cohort study to randomized controlled trials and things that are very, very different and very much better in ways that really help advance the science. And she went on to do her PhD, which is another piece that kind of makes this whole thing roll for her, I think. So I'm just giving a shout out to Holly in absentia because I think that
Yes,
she's
yes.
done some really great things for research and for this topic.
No, it continues to continues to do
Absolutely.
fantastic stuff.
Yep.
So as I look at this program, they have even back then in 2005, they did some warm up. Initially, they did obviously some stretching. Each time they did the program, they did strengthening through lunges, Russian hamstrings, and heel raises, which is really the only, I mean, that's the only strengthening they did according to this. So walking lunges for 20 yards, 2 times, Russian hamstrings for 30 seconds, and then 30 single heel raises. That's the strengthening program. And then plyometrics, I guess plyometrics is part of the strengthening too, but I mean, just true strengthening, that was all they did. Plyometrics, lateral hops, forward hops, single leg hops, vertical jumps, scissor jumps. And then they did some agility stuff, shuttle run, diagonal run, and bounding run. And so that was the program that they did. And it worked. And people decreased their injury risk. Is there more that we need than that? I mean, that seems pretty basic. I mean, how, we can make things harder and we can add more to it. But there's got to be a point where, the more you add, the longer it's going to take, the more confusing it's going to be, the harder it's going to be for people to implement it. What is there? Do you guys know? I don't even know. Maybe Kim, maybe. Are there studies where they've done even less than this and shown that it's beneficial? Because this doesn't look like it's that. I mean, this isn't like a horribly hard program to infuse into sports.
I think that's part of
Bob,
it
I
too.
think-
Is you have to
Oh,
make it
Go
simple.
ahead, Phil.
I'm sorry, Kim. You have to make it simple to implement it into the warm-up program of the teams. And I think they're looking at this. I don't know if it's this paper or the next one, that there were some schools that dropped out, that they just said they just didn't have the time or whatever. So I really like the fact, and so the next paper we'll talk about is in terms of compliance, which may lead to a little bit of insight into what you're talking about. But I agree with you, Rob. Like this isn't anything, and it's really easy to implement. So for people to say like, "Well, we didn't have the coaching, we didn't have the time to do it," it's kind of a BS excuse, in my
Yeah, it
opinion.
really is. I mean, you're talking maybe 10 minutes, right? 10,
Yeah.
15 max. I mean, it could be done as like the warm up to their program.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why is it, I mean, you think it's just time? Do you think it's time? Do you think it's just, they feel like that little bit of time is too much to take out of a practice?
Coaches, of course.
Well, I mean,
Not
do you
coaching.
have to do it every day? You don't have to do it every day, right? Even if you did it a couple times a week, it's probably better than.
Coaching, they're not going to do this.
I know, it's just, it's silly though. It's just silly if it works. Why
That's
not
part of the problem is we've got to translate this into practice and make, so this is just part of it, right? The whole part, the end of it is to get it out there, which they've done a great job with the FIFA 11 and all that stuff, is to say, this needs to be standard practice. You coaches need to be doing this. Here's the data, but someone's got to stand behind it, right? That's the
I
problem.
think that's why I'm guessing that's why they did the other paper we're going to talk about, is because if you do this, potentially you get some more wins. And we'll get to that in just a minute though. But so Kim, what do you know, are there any other programs that you've seen that are less than this that still get kind of the same result? I mean, can you do less and still get the same bang for your buck versus having to do more?
Well, I haven't seen any programs like that, Rob, but I wonder if this is, this athletes are still doing maybe what they would do in the weight room and that type of thing. But I think this particular program uh, would cover it if you incorporate those movements that you need. And I assume that would be great where we could talk to Holly and see what type of um, movements were incorporated into that. But what we ran up against, kind of Phil, what you're saying is we ran up against resistance, especially to the plant and cut. I mean, coaches just notoriously said, "Oh, we need to plant and cut. That's how we fake people out. We've got to do the plant and cut." And you could show them, that the inside turn was just as effective and actually took less time. You actually moved down the field faster than if you stopped and did a plant and cut. But I think that was part of it, is that we had to incorporate those particular safe moves into the program without it being too lengthy, that coaches say, "Hey, we gotta get the kids in real practice." So there's just a mindset shift that I believe needs to incur, but showing that it's actually performance enhancement
Mhm.
may be the way to sell it, honestly. Barb, it may be the way
Yeah.
to get it going.
There was
Yeah.
a question, and I answered that too. It's like that is a great way to think about it. And again, I would be really cautious about saying that it's going to enhance performance, but it is performance related because they're doing skills that are really, really important. So,
So in my experience too with these injury risk reduction programs, which are typically called
mhm,
prevention programs,
mhm,
and we do it commercially and we try to sell these to parents,
mhm,
you never say it's going to prevent injury. They really don't care about that. They care about performance enhancement. And if you
yep.
spin it the way, well, not being injured is enhancing your performance.
Yeah, no
So
doubt.
this is a performance enhancement program because it allows you to perform. So it's
Mhm,
as we talked about earlier, the whole semantics is
mhm,
they definitely buy into prevention more than risk reduction. So there's that
mhm,
marketing side of all of this stuff.
mhm.
And I think there was a comment in here from Raphael in the comments who said the knowledge behind it was low for the coaches, so they want to focus on training. I'm looking at this going, how hard is it to understand what an inner thigh stretch is for
Yeah.
a walking lunge? Seriously? Not to Raphael saying that, but coaches, come on, y'all. That's such a BS excuse not to do this program right here.
Yeah.
Vertical
Yep.
forward hops, 2 to 6 inch cone. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you guys see on here? I was trying to look real quick because the anonymous attendee asked, "Does it say how frequently they did the program?" I don't think they did it every day, did they?
Well, that goes to the next paper too.
Yeah.
How
I was
frequently
looking here to see if I could find it, but I can't
The
find it real
I
quick. But I
do know
didn't think
that
it was.
I was looking too, Rob, but the PEP program is prescribed or is described to be done 3 times a week,
Okay. Okay.
as
So three
written.
times a week.
As so I don't know if they actually did it that way, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm guessing they did if that's what if that's
Mhm.
how they
That's what they
standardly
had.
did it.
That's what they published. So that's my best guess as well.
Yeah. That's probably it then. Um, James Moody asked, would we be able to see a video or a link to the inline cut instead of the plant and cut maneuver? Kim, can you put your camera back and show them how you do the inline cut? You got
Like,
enough
you don't want
room?
to see me do
Are
that.
you
Trust me.
serious, Rob?
No, no,
Go out there on my
no.
right
That's what
Well,
ACL.
James wanted that
oddly,
though. I don't know how to explain it.
odd,
Can you explain it better, Kim? It's like
I
well,
might
you
tear my
don't plant
ACL,
and
so I
cut.
better not do it.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
yeah.
Kim has too. Yeah.
Oddly enough, there is a video.
Mhm.
We did make a video of the intervention techniques. You have to sign a paper that you won't put my afro haircut on the Facebook out there. So we and it's a VHS. So I don't know whether anybody still has a VHS. I don't think we ever had it converted to even a CD or
Oh my
DVD.
gosh.
I'll have to
Bet I
look,
can
but
find it.
I do have that. And we actually have handouts that we gave to our participants. So for football, we made a specific handout with here's the bad technique, what you don't want to do, here's the good technique. And we did it for basketball, we did it for soccer, softball, baseball. So if I would get the name of who had that question, I actually could send papers or the
Mhm.
articles.
Well, we have his
Mhm.
name, but I don't know we have a way to contact him per se.
If
Oh,
you
okay. Or if
anything
he
that you
con
have that you want to share, if you get it to me when we send out the
okay,
replay email, I can link stuff to that as
Awesome.
okay.
well.
Awesome.
I can try to describe it, but probably the visual is better. I mean, the old plant and cut, you're
Yeah,
running
yeah.
Mhm.
downfield, you plant that
Boom.
right foot and you go left. And
Mhm.
usually well, not usually, but I happen to end up on the court. So the we call it an accelerated rounded turn. And
Mhm.
acceleration does kind of talk to coaches just a little bit. You know, you're decelerating to do a plant and cut. Why do you
Normally,
want to
yeah.
slow down, you know, and let your defender get closer to you? Why you're making that job easier for your defender. So it was an accelerated rounded turn. So if you can envision that truly, instead of coming down and boom, you know, you're coming down and you're actually, when you are able to accelerate through the turn, then it's more of a rounded turn. And I know it's not a good visual, but I would be happy to send those documents. I may have to get the cobwebs off the video, and honestly, I don't know if there's equipment out there today to even play it.
Yeah, I don't know if
Does
you can find.
anybody
Yeah, I
have a
don't know if
Would
you
be
can find
happy to
VHS?
VHS. We
share.
got one of ours
I
years
will
ago.
tell you. I will tell you, Kim, you can get anything converted to a DVD or digital by just sending it to a company, because I did it with a
Okay.
bunch of old stuff. If you want it, but that's like historical. I would get that converted if it were me.
Yeah, you
Now,
can
it
actually
may,
buy converters if you have a VHS.
I
It'll
think what she's saying is she doesn't really want her video out in public
Oh,
from back
you can put
then.
a little
would be my
black thing
guess.
over your face, and
Oh,
no
Yeah,
one
there
even
you
knows
go.
it's you.
Yeah, yeah. You don't
that
want to
was
like.
from 1982, probably 81, 82. It's a little embarrassing, but if it prevents one ACL injury, I'll do
It
it.
would be worth it.
I
It
Mhm.
would
want
be
to
worth it.
It would
give a
darn
little
sure be
shout
worth it.
out here in the comments that Bo Lowry stated that they've started a pilot ACL program, basically like FIFA 11 in the NFL.
Uh-huh.
Bo is the head trainer at the Broncos.
Oh,
Oh, cool.
nice. Thanks for
And
joining,
so
Bo.
glad to have him
Awesome.
on. And he's from New Orleans. He's from here, Baton Rouge. Used to be the trainer with LSU and with the Saints. That's why I know him. But I'm glad that he chimed in here and says that the NFL is doing something very similar. And that's
Mhm.
the beauty of this program is FIFA 11 has been huge in soccer, but it hasn't been like promulgated to different
Yeah.
sports.
Other sports, right?
See the NFL doing it, like you're saying, Bo, is fantastic. So thank you for that.
Mhm.
Nice. So what is the if you look at these have you Barb and Phil, have you taken the some of the other programs? Have you taken like the Cincinnati sports medicine program and
Familiar with
all
that.
that stuff, the certifications? I haven't. So
Mhm.
I'm just
I'm
wondering,
not
is there
certified on
really
it, but
is there a common denominator within all these? I mean, a common denominator more than warm up, stretching, strengthening, and plyometrics.
The most I can tell you from what I know is looking at FIFA 11 is more about the warm up before participation, and the Cincinnati is a specific program that looks a lot at plyometrics and things like that. It's very focused, so that's the only difference I can tell.
So Phil, have you
Yeah.
tore your ACL, Phil?
I did.
Oh, you did.
How'd
Yeah.
you
Jim,
do
you've
it?
tore yours.
You didn't
Barb,
know
did
the
you tear
story?
yours?
No,
It was
I got two
fishing.
still.
It was
I'm
a
good.
Oh, you
fishing
still have
accident.
two. Good. Okay. I
I
thought I
still have
was the
two.
only one. I thought I was going to be like the only one out of the four of us. Ashley, do you have both your ACLs? Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
but mine was it was a fishing accident.
Yeah, Phil.
oh, that's
And
Got
right.
attacked by
Phil
a
is
fish.
I
still ACL
remember now. That is
deficient.
right.
And unfortunately, it was with Andre Labe. So we're in a boat tuna fishing, and the waves are 6 foot high.
gosh.
And I go up with a wave, and the boat comes up and meets me in the middle, and whoop! That's how I tore my ACL.
Were you drinking that day?
Only at 6 o'clock.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. There was no
But
alcohol
that,
involved,
but
I'm
that
sure.
had nothing to do with it.
No, it never does.
Never does.
Never does.
No drinking
so-
accidents here.
So what is there? So do we know, is there a common denominator between all these other than that they include all of that stuff, same stuff?
I would just say the same. Yeah, lots of, technique. Now, I will say this, that they did not include a lot of the more recent science, which is dual tasking. And it's
Yes, at
very
all.
focused. It's very focused on doing a task while thinking about that task and changing your motor performance without any dual task requirements. And so that's one of the things that I was going to say. If Holly and Bert were around, I was going to kind of say, what about this dual tasking phenomenon or paradigm? But again, if you can't get somebody to do these simple things, how are you going to get them to do it and like count backwards from 72, or do the
Look
other
at
things
different
that you have
colored
to do for
cards. Yeah, different
yes
colored cards or
for
things
dual
like that.
tasking? So yeah.
Well, the future is going to actually be, I think, in this neurocognitive, obviously, where you're going.
Absolutely.
But what we're working with, like at Bob Mangine in Cincinnati, is
Mhm.
looking at, and we had a paper on that a few months ago, is how the brain adapts to the
Mhm.
rehab part of it. And that's actually something I'm going to get started in doing, is looking at the functional near infrared spectroscopy of the brain and how the brain blood flow changes in the rehab. But we should
Right.
be able to see that even in these types of programs.
Sure.
So applying technology from 20 years ago, this exercise program, how does it change the blood flow in the frontal?
Right.
So Phil, you're going to do
Right.
that with just like regular programming, kind of
Yep.
like this, and then also do it with neurocognitive
Rehab.
training and see what the difference is. Is
Well,
that what you're talking about?
that paper was great because it showed Bob had a ACL injury and a volleyball player, I believe. And the first day, early after surgery, they looked at blood flow and found tremendous amounts of blood flow in the frontal cortex, meaning a lot of programming is going on, a lot of mental prep. And over the course of time, as she regained that, someone who can't do a quad set, you got to imagine that frontal lobe is just blowing up. And then after months, it'll cool down to blue, meaning there's not a lot of thinking required. That's what this
Yeah.
is. That's the future of all this.
Nice. Nice. Good stuff. Good stuff.
So
You
was
guys-
that was the one that we published recently, right?
Yep, a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put the link. I'll put the link in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Nice. So this study, the PEP original PEP study, they had a 74% reduction in the groups that did the training. Is that pretty good?
Yes.
70% seems pretty good, right?
Yes.
Sure would be.
Is it possible to get better than that? I mean, I guess we can until you're
Well,
100, you can get better, but
it's very high. And what you also want to notice is they did some inferential stats with this using the chi-square. So the results of this, there's again, based on the significance, there's a 5% chance that this is not what would happen in the real world. So there's a 95% chance that these results would be replicated in the real world. So I think it's a very significant outcome. I hate
Good
the word
numbers.
significant, sorry. It's a very powerful outcome.
Hey, Ash,
I
we
will
have
say-
we have John
Oh, go ahead.
John Schneider on the chat or the question answer saying he can't the VA won't allow him access to the articles from the Google Drive. Is there any other way that he
Can we
can
post them in the chat, Ash?
I can drop the PDFs in the chat a minute.
Okay,
What
awesome.
that it won't let him from where? From the Google Drive?
From some Google
Well,
Drive, yeah.
the VA is blocking
The
Google
VA.
You know how the government is. They don't want him getting these articles.
conspiracies,
All right.
stupid
This
government.
stupid government. That's right, John.
Oh gosh, John, if you work for the VA, be careful what you say.
Yeah, be careful.
Be
They're
careful
probably
what we said.
watching you on us right now.
I'll try and send him to him differently. Just send me your email in the
Send us
chat
your
and
email,
I'll-
John, and we'll
I'll
get it for
email
you. We
it to
got you covered, John.
Can we go to the next one, Rob? Because I want to talk about this one.
Yeah,
I
you
do
want to go to the
too.
next one? All right, we're going. There we go. Johnny's got it on.
Start.
John Schneider. I won't say it. Well, but everyone can see it anyway, I guess. All right. So our second article, Holly Silver's Granelli. Is Granelli the right pronunciation? Granelli.
Looks right.
Yep.
Okay.
Granelli, yep.
High compliance with the 11+ injury prevention program results in better win-loss records. Now that's got to get the coach's attention,
Does
doesn't it?
that not speak to a coach?
Yeah.
Yep.
Does that not
Yep.
speak to a coach and probably a parent? Well, these are adults. These were not, these were college students, but it's like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
To me,
So
that's like saying
this
it
was
doesn't
published. Actually, oh, go ahead, Barbara. Sorry.
to me, it's like saying it doesn't just fix like quote unquote the problem, is it's a secondary effect, right? Which is performance related to
Yes.
results, right?
Mhm.
Outcomes.
And that's what that language they speak. They don't speak about prevention and risk reduction. They want to wins and losses.
Yep. W's and L's. Yep.
W's and L's. So this attacks it, right? And it says there were significantly more wins and fewer losses recorded for the teams using the 11+ program. Statistically significant difference between levels of compliance on the dependent variable wins, losses, and ties. So you do the program, you win more. Who would not want to then incorporate
Want to
it?
do that?
Yeah.
But your odds are better. I wouldn't say you win more. It says their odds are better.
Well, that's true. That's true. Maybe I'm inflating it a little bit.
The odds of you winning are greater. We could say
Yes.
that with confidence. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So is that enough to get them to do it?
Well, I think
We
we
don't
get the
know. This was just published a year
buy-in,
ago.
because this starts at the bottom. You know, we got to get the younger kids doing this, and I think the buy-in from the parents is really important. Also, as we said earlier, this is coaches talk. They care about wins and losses because that's their job. And when you can show, that's why I love this study that Holly did, was that taking it to the next step is going, it's not just about prevention, quote unquote, it's about wins and losses. So even if the wins and losses, as Barb said, it's kind of a secondary thing, this is what speaks to the audience, that you need their action to translate the research into practice. That's the hard part.
Sure. And
Yep.
kind of back to my other point, this was kind of cool, is that this became, instead of a cohort study, this is a cluster randomized trial, which is an important design to understand, but also an important thing to think about. And they had a lot of people, 27 teams comprising 675 players for the intervention group, and 34 teams comprising 850 players with control group. Those are some big numbers, people.
Yep.
I mean, like that's not just messing around. I mean, that's going out and doing a good job of what you did. So
Did they randomize the teams, Barb? Is that how they did it? They randomized the teams, so your big
yeah,
numbers
it was
came from
that was
different
the
teams?
cluster randomization. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
It'd be
then they
hard to
put in,
randomize the people within the teams as one or not.
Right.
It
You
would
can't.
really get confusing.
Yep.
You know.
somewhere they put in the reasons that the teams backed out. Let's see.
Right.
And
I think it's
declined
limitations.
pay, those kinds of things. Those important things for us as translational researchers to understand what are the factors that cause these people to back out of it.
Here, the reasons coaches, I think maybe I have it, Phil. Reasons coaches provided refusing to implement the program.
Yeah.
Time constraints, economic cost. What is the cost?
Yeah,
Economic
right.
Cost? What's the
Time?
cost?
Is it their time? 10
Time?
minutes?
Complexity? Yeah. Like you
Sorry,
said earlier.
we shouldn't
Okay,
make fun
jumping
of
over
them.
a cone. How complex is that? Lacking the personnel to conduct the program. Boredom with using a consistent warm-up. Boredom.
I've actually heard that one. It gets old. I've done
Lack
it
of
before. We
sport
keep them.
specificity and lack of player commitment or player belief in the program.
Well, that's what coaches are supposed to do, right?
Yeah, John got on again and said economic constraints means they just didn't try.
Yeah, that's exactly right, John.
We didn't try.
And the other
They
thing
bailed.
is, if sports specific, I say it's easy, but if they could just incorporate, the techniques, in their particular practice. The other avenue that we started down the road, but we never did complete, is actually introducing, because somebody mentioned, training when these kids are in elementary or younger. So we started down the pathway of going to the schools and the physical education programs, where you could teach the fourth graders or the third graders, when they're out playing leapfrog, well, they got to land with their knees bent. So you do leapfrog with knee bent activity. We never did, complete that pursuit, but I don't know whether that's something that would be another whole ball game, is going into the public schools or private school.
Well, I think it would have to.
PE programs.
Yeah, it would seem like it would have to help though, because when we talk about all these programs, just like that, Kim, like you talk about not doing the plant and cut, and how the coaches said that's really hard not to do. How to do the bent knee landing, things like that. When you've been doing the plant and cut for 18 years, or landing stiff kneed for 18 years, the ability to change it, in one training session, I think would be very difficult. I mean, it has to be difficult. And I wonder how often it's like, we talk about, to me, it's very similar to when I get doctors send people in, they want me to look at a baseball player's pitching mechanics. So we take them to our mound, we have them throw the ball, we have them warm up, we have them throw the ball. And then we pick apart little details about their pitching motion, bring your lead leg a little higher. Don't stretch out so far. Don't bring your shoulder into too far of horizontal adduction. And so you work with them for a couple of visits, and they appear like they can change it, so they can throw kind of how you want them to throw while you're in the clinic. But then I really wonder do they really do that once they get back into a game? Do they really do that? And do they change their throwing how we told them we want them to? Or do they go back to, do they revert to their muscle memory, what they've been doing for 18 years? And I wonder with these programs too. You know, do the people, so we talk to them about it and they can do it for us in the clinic. But when it really comes to playing soccer and they're trying to, you know, juke the guy out, or are they going to really do the rounded turn? Or are they going to plant and cut and do it when it, you know, when the rubber meets the road, what is going to happen?
Right.
Right, you're right, Rob. I mean, you know, just what comes to us naturally that we've been practicing and it's ingrained, like you said, for 18 years. So, you know, trying to uh, get ourselves into the school system in some way with physical education programs, you know, that certainly we have to address the coaches as well. But you know, if we could begin to practice some of the safer techniques at that early age, and then it's incorporated, and that's how they move. That's how they function. Because
But then it's
you're
just
right.
ingrained.
You know,
Yeah.
you're playing for the national championship. The heat's on. You're not going to be, you know, oh what Rob or what
Yeah.
Barb or what Kim
Mhm.
teach
What
me,
did they
and
say?
oh yeah,
Wait, I
you
need to
know,
round this turn. Yeah.
you know,
Right.
stay
Hang on,
right
can you just
there.
hold up? Can you just hold off for a minute? I'm not going to juke you. I'm going to run around
Yeah.
you.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
round you.
Well, the other piece to
So
that too is that there's some indication in the literature that we do have to make this target the most at-risk individuals with the highest level of quote unquote prevention program, right? So if we that sometimes like blanketing the whole community with a prevention program is not going to necessarily do enough for risk reduction in terms of how that works. So let's say you've got 50 girl soccer players and 25 of them have pretty darn good technique. Let those guys work on their technique and they take the ones that are most risk and train them. I mean, Hewitt's work and others work has, and Kate Webster, they've talked about this stuff, but I think maybe there's something to that too in terms of targeting these interventions, these intervention programs. But
Nice. Well, I want to shout out to Marilyn von Forster, who said, right on. She's like, Marilyn's excited about this tonight. Right on. Get this into the public school PE teacher training.
I
So
love
yeah,
it.
just like you were talking, Kim, we were all talking. And then shout out to Lance Gill, my man, Lance Gill,
Lance.
Rob. Yeah, shout out. I
Hi,
want
Lance.
to echo the practice versus play concept. In the golf world, our lab work doesn't always reflect what we see out on the real battlefield. Better diagnostics is the answer, in my opinion. And that's kind of what exactly what I was asking.
Mm-hmm. And kind of mine too, like Lance, better diagnostics, like who really needs this? And is there something that you can do to intervene with the highest risk group potentially?
All right. I've got 9 minutes. I have to jump on the stats.
Oh, there's got to be some stats
Get it,
coming here.
Phil.
Come
Get
on
it.
now.
I
Get
want
it.
to again loved the first one, the AJSM study, right?
Mhm.
With their stats. This one was really cool when it comes to statistics.
Put your drink down for a minute so you
Yeah,
can
have
talk.
another
Will you?
beer, Phil.
Statistics.
That's the only way to talk
Not
about
statics.
statistics. Is with a drink in your hand. Whereas my
Cheers
friend
to
would
that.
say statistics, it's where, mathematics is great with all that annoying accuracy. So
Love it.
what Holly did was really cool in how they spaced this out, going from the independent t-test to compare wins and losses across the control and the intervention groups. And then when they went into the multivariate ANOVA and all that kind of stuff, they found that wins were basically related to better compliance.
Mhm.
And they did it statistically in a very elegant way, and they got really good confidence intervals and things like that. So I just wanted to give a shout out to how the statistics were done in this paper in particular. And they really did a good job with things like talking about, and this is more, I don't get a lot of time to talk about the stats to educate our viewers about this stuff. But when you look at the way that this was done, this is kind of a good paper to show in my stats class. When you have these different levels of questions, and now they used effect sizes and post hoc analyses and those types of things. They really did a good job, I felt, in terms of the stats, except for my question was, and I wish Holly was here, was in table 1. I was a little confused about that confidence interval. I don't know, Barb, if you reviewed this paper and could explain to me my question of what that 95% confidence interval was in table 1, because I didn't really understand what that was.
Hang on, I gotta look.
So,
That's putting me on the spot, man. I
Yeah,
review
yeah.
well, I sent an
500
email
papers
to
a
you
year.
today
Just kidding.
earlier, didn't I?
Yeah, I've been working all day.
Yeah,
What I
some of
wonder-
us have other jobs too, Phil, other than
Some of us
Journal
don't sit
Club.
at our
We're all in
desks.
academia. You come
No, I know.
on.
I know, but maybe she was teaching all day. She didn't have
Well, I was
time to look at your
teaching.
email.
Okay,
You were
everyone
because
settle
you
down.
sent the email out. Yeah, you had time to get on your email.
Don't get defensive. Don't get
Okay, okay.
my question.
Hmm.
For the viewers out there, we're all
It's for
great.
whom?
Yeah, we're just
Mhm.
joking.
We're just busting each other's chops. One of the things to look at is in table 1, the confidence interval for the third one on ties doesn't
Mhm.
contain the null value, and yet I mean, it doesn't contain the null value, and it's significantly different.
It
So
does not make sense.
it doesn't make
Mhm.
sense. And that's why I want
Mhm.
Holly on to kind of answer that question.
Mhm.
But my point here is not to put you on the spot by any means.
It's all right.
My point is for readers who are reviewing these papers is to
Mhm.
ask questions and look at that and go, what is that? How does that explain that to me? And it's not to say that, this didn't get by peer review or something incorrectly or whatever that is,
Mhm.
but there are instances where our readers need to be able to go, that doesn't make sense. Just ask
Well,
the,
actually, though, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
Actually, the p-value indicates that it's not statistically significant,
Right. But it
but it still doesn't
would
contain it.
contain the
Mhm.
null value if it wasn't
Mhm.
statistically different. So
Mhm.
it would contain 0, but right now
Yeah, we
it's
have a 0. Yep. Mhm.
so it could be a typo. Maybe it's a minus 1.6.
Yep. That could
I
very
don't
well
know.
be. Yep.
So that's what I'm trying to educate the
Mhm.
readers when we see these types of things is to ask questions and don't, and particularly now IJSPT, as we are all editors, I'm not throwing the journal under the bus by any means, but what I'm doing is saying there's a lot of other journals out there that don't have adequate peer review that we have to remain very skeptical about what we read. And so all I'm trying to do is for our readers is try to make sure that in other journals that you might be reading from these journal farms, these predatory journals,
Mhm.
really be critical. I tell my students this every day is we can't do this anymore. We can't look at these articles and assume that they are correct. We
Mhm.
have to do our own due diligence, unfortunately, because a lot of stuff gets through with these predatory journals. And so these are just things that I raise questions on, not to say that it's right or wrong, but just to kind of
Mhm.
help you to make a better clinical decision on the quality of the article. That's all.
Great points as always, Philly.
Mhm.
Here's to you, buddy.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right, guys, we're rounding it down. We got like 3 or 4 minutes left. Kim, thank you so much for joining us. Do you have any parting comments or
Any
words of
wisdoms?
wisdom in regard to
Well,
prevention?
probably not any wisdom. I think you guys have that covered very well,
Oh,
but
no.
I'm just, I was thinking of Dr. Henning today, and he would just be thrilled and amazed at the work that you all have been doing. He always said his main goal in life was to put himself out of business with
Mhm.
doing, non-contact ACL reconstruction. And so I'm just delighted that our profession is pursuing this, and you've done fabulous work. So I certainly accolades to all of you, and to Holly and Dr. Mondebaum, and I probably mispronounced that his
Too
name,
much
but
wine.
anyway, I
Too much
just
wine.
thank you again.
Mandelbaum, I think is what it is, right?
Mandelbaum.
Mandelbaum. I believe so.
Mandelbaum. Anyway,
Mhm.
okay. But I thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to join you this evening.
Oh,
Been a
it's our
joy.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you
Mhm.
want to? Hey,
Thank
we got
you.
Raphael. Raphael's got one more question before we go. This is my first journal club. What? Is that what?
We've
His
done
first
23
journal
of
club?
them.
How do I get updates on future journal clubs? Ashley,
You
how
will
can we get
officially
Raphael updates?
you will officially be getting updates. So yeah, you'll everything moving forward, you'll get email blasts about. We do these monthly, just as a heads up. So the next one, we will get advertisements and links out here probably in the next less than a week for signups. And these are always recorded also, just for those of you who are first time on here, or like if you see one that you want to watch, but you can't attend live, just sign up, because we will always send out an email with the link to the replay on our YouTube. The only thing with that is you just don't get the CEU credit if you don't watch it live, but they're all available. You can go back and watch all 22 others. posted on our YouTube channel. Just search IJSPT on YouTube and you'll find our page there. So
Phil, look at that. Hannah Miller, her first one too.
All
We've got like
right.
Journal Club rookies tonight coming out of the woodwork, man. This is incredible.
Welcome to
Hannah,
the club,
Raphael,
Hannah. Yeah,
welcome. Tell your friends, bring more people. This is unbelievable. I love it.
Oh,
when we
shout
get
out
people.
Ashley Butler. She's TSU.
Ashley Butler, she didn't put her
so-
name up. You guys, I got to be honest, you guys. When we were at CSM, I had so many people that I've never met that I had no idea
Look
even
at all
paid
these
attention
first
to the Journal
people.
Club that
That's
would come up
awesome.
and talk to me and tell me they're like
I
they
know.
love it. They want to watch it
You're a
every month.
celebrity,
and-
Rob. You are a
Well,
celebrity.
I don't know that I'm a celebrity. I think they just know me because I'm the one blabbing
It's
most
the
of the
beard.
time. But
It's the
I
same.
shouldn't
He's
open
a
my mouth.
celebrity.
I shouldn't say this because it's on me to get it done, but I am working on also making this a podcast format.
Ooh.
Per several requests at CSM, people coming up and saying, "Can you make it in a podcast so I can just
Students
add it
really
to my
like
list
that.
of things I listen
oh
to?"
yeah. Yeah.
So I'm actively
Mhm.
working on that, and we'll be getting that going as soon as possible in all my
Awesome.
spare time.
One more shameless prompt. The other way to always be on the know of what's going on with this is to make sure that you receive IJSPT. We put it out on our monthly link. We also then, if we have your
Email, social
your
media. Yeah.
email from there and social media, we put it out with that. And so again, follow us on IJSPT as well, because we try to pick some papers from our own journal occasionally as well. So
Yep.
And tell you,
Ashley, I said, look at this. Ashley,
encourage your friends.
John, David, all of these people. Holy cow.
Welcome.
welcome all you
Wow, welcome,
students.
everybody.
That's awesome. Bring
Yeah.
it.
Tell your
Thanks for
friends.
joining. Yeah. Tell your friends.
Yep.
It's
Bring
getting
them all
bigger
with
every
you.
month. Yeah.
All right.
All right,
Well, I
guys.
guess we will see everyone in April, and yeah, be checking your emails. That will be coming out in the next week with all the details to come. So thank you, Kim, again for being on, and apologies that somehow there's a wire loose here on the guest host. I'm sure they're going to be very
We'll get them back.
disappointed.
We'll
Yeah,
ask
we'll
them
get 'em back
again.
sometime.
We'll circle back to them. They're a great option, so we'll get them back on here. So thanks for everyone for hanging out tonight.
All right, guys.
Thank
Have
you,
a good night.
Ashley.
Good night.
Good night.
You. Bye.
Good night.
Bye, guys.